Put yourself in position to win big on Kentucky Derby Day with the power of daily racing form. Visit shop.drf.com and get past performances, expert picks, betting strategies, clock reports, and more. Again, that's shop.drf.com. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at Kentucky Derby Contender Confidence Game. Now, this horse might be lurking under the radar somewhat simply because we haven't seen him since late February when he won this race, the Rebel at Oaklawn Park, over a wet track. It was his first time over a wet track, and he had to do it from off the pace, which was kind of a new trick for Confidence Game. Nice to see that versatility.
Yeah, it really was. I think that's particularly important, Dan, the point that you just made, that he sort of did it a different way here, from well back off the pace. I like this performance from him. He's not going to change leads in the stretch, but I just like the move that he made around the turn before he took over and kept on pretty well to the end.
And the fourth place finisher of that race, Verifying, came back to run second in the Bluegrass with a 99 Beyer speed figure. So he beat a good horse that day. He earned a 94 Beyer, which I think he can build on with the right setup in the Kentucky Derby. There are things to like about this horse. I think a lot of folks are going to be drawn to his pedigree. I'm not sure how this horse only sold for $25,000 as a yearling. He's by Candy Ride, out of a half-sister to the legendary Zenyatta, who won 19 of 20 starts. Also at the dam is a half-sister to the multiple Grade 1 winner, Balance. So pedigree is there. Does the lack of a 9-furlong prep bother you? And how much does this little layoff bother you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either of those things are ideal. I feel like, you probably don't want to get too caught up in it. I don't know if there was an issue or not that forced him to go into the Derby off of this long a break. But if this was the plan, I guess you can trust in DeSormo. He knows what he's doing, and this is the way he wanted to bring him to the Kentucky Derby. I guess that's fine, Dan. You're still left with a horse who is going to have to take a pretty significant step forward if he's going to be a factor in that race. But he does have some versatility. You mentioned his pedigree. I mean, I guess in some ways that's a good and a bad thing, right? He is really well bred, but selling for $25,000 suggests that maybe he wasn't the best looking horse.
He's also a two-time winner at Churchill Downs. So if you're a horse for course fan, Confidence Game might be one for you. From a pace standpoint, we talked about his versatility. Now in the LeCompte 2 starts back, a race which he finished third behind Instant Coffee, that seemed like a pretty solid pace, especially the interior fractions. And he was up close and he ran okay to be third. He took advantage of a quick pace over the muddy track last time out. In this Derby, if he breaks, I can see him relatively close to the pace.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, one of the good things about him, Dan, is aside from the fact that it just kind of feels like he's going to be one of the better prices in the race, and a horse who has some ability to boot. But he's been so versatile right from the start of his career. I mean, he's run well from, further back off the pace. He's run really well, I thought, a couple of times when they did put him forward in his races. That allowance win here at Churchill Downs at the end of November last year, he ran really well. He wired that field, but he was moving right along on the lead, and that was a good allowance field that he defeated. So there's some talent here. There's a lot of versatility, and there's forward to go.
He beat fellow Kentucky Derby contender Rocket Can in that race. Rocket Can, of course, won the Holy Bull early in 2023. Confidence Game has won 3 of 7 for Keith DeSormo. He's already breezed twice at Churchill Downs as of this taping, including a 1-mile gate drill, maybe to get a little bit of stamina into him. Confidence Game, we haven't seen him since the Rebel back in February, but well-bred, well-connected, and will be a nice price on the tote.